Imagine being such a badass that you're able to sell over 100 units of your new franchise within like a year. Well, my friend Rick Mayo is absolutely in the category of a badass. This guy's done it, and his brand is fantastic. Today, we're going to be talking about his franchise, Alloy Fitness. We're going to be talking about the franchising game. More importantly, the business behind the business, aligning with your brand promise, how to have a 36-month retention on your members on average. Yes, that's true, at over $300 per month. Also, how to simplify your model where you don't have to have hundreds of members, thousands of members in order to be able to make incredible money, and how to constantly focus on increasing lifetime customer value, which is really the name of the game. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Rick Mayo. Talk to me really quick about the Alloy model and really quick what it was before, because you had a licensing deal and now you're over here in a franchise. So talk to me about that and where you were, where you are, why.
So we're actually sitting in the space that we opened in 1992, and we won't go back that far, but just keep in mind our brand promise in 92 was the same as it is now, which I think is really interesting. I mean, we often use this as a sales tool for potential investors because fitness can be very trendy. And if it's based on a piece of technology or a modality, like a rower or a bike or what have you, those things may go in and out of, flavor of the month, so to speak. And we've had the same brand promise on the door for 31 years. Now, the things we do behind it, right? The way we train, the way we service it have evolved. And so imagine we opened in 92, we're servicing personal training in a one-on-one manner. We evolved that into being able to do it in a smaller group setting, but still call it personal training. Puts us in like one of the highest revenue per square foot facilities in the country. Now we're consulting a little bit, start doing some speaking in the industry, and eventually people start wanting to buy parts and pieces of what we do. Like, how about a sales system? What's your induction process? Can you write our workouts? And it was the same questions and requests over and over. So we thought, why don't we tidy this thing up? We'll put it on this platform. I think it was the first ever LMS that ever came out. It ages us a bit. We put it on there and we launched what we call licensing. Now, that can be a bit confusing with franchising because that's an interchangeable term, because when you sell a franchise location, it could be called a license, right? But just think about a white labeled version of what we do, powering other brands. Okay. We scaled that thing to like 2,500 clubs, Mike, everywhere from India, Dubai, Tasmania, and you name it, and all different brands. Imagine everything from a CrossFit and that market, which is servicing like, fire-breathing 20-something-year-olds for the most part, and maybe a bit older, all the way to like big family tennis centers at 110,000 square feet. Eventually, that ended up putting me on advisory roles for some of the biggest franchises in the world, not just fitness, but overall. And we got a nice peek under the covers of how franchising worked. And we understood how to deploy and operationalize things in that structure, which is unique, of course, as you know. And then in 2018 or so, we started having more boutique fitness, which is kind of the category that we're in, as you know, coming to us, asking for similar services, like powering them with workouts or whatever that may be. And we just thought, instead of powering all these guys, let's just pivot and do it on our own.
Yeah.
So we launched the franchise right at the end of 2019. As you know, timing is everything, Mike.
I remember that.
And 2020 rolls around, and we all that were in the industry servicing clubs knew that it was a tough year. But I'd say when the veil lifted, maybe mid-2021, we got back on it. And now it's full-on franchising. And it's all based on, to answer your question the longest way possible, it's all based on the original premise of personal training and the thing that we do unique, which is service it in this setting of like up to 6 people, right? So, a lot of people, when they approach maybe franchising, it's like, listen, I've got Rick's Hamburger Shop. There's a line out the door. I've got something special. I should franchise this thing. But you're not really sure, right? Does it work in suburban markets? Is it in the city center?
Can other people do it?
Can other people run this play? Is it just because I'm here every day as the chef, if you will, right? We knew we had already scaled a thing similar, like Franchise Light, to 2,500 clubs all over the world. We knew where there were gaps in the market. We felt like we had the right machine built to fill those gaps, and we came to market with it. And it was basically personal training, in a group setting. So you get the sociability of group, right?
Right.
But you still get the specificity of personal training, not having to change the brand promise on the front.
Right.
And man, so far so good. So we're at 100, right at 100 sold. We'll have 50 open by year's end. So we're busy with, I think we have 36 currently in construction project.
And you're talking 3 years. Is it 3 full years?
It's actually only been like 18 months since we've really been on it, just because we had the pause of COVID.
You had pause.
Kind of like you guys. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I remember you and I getting on the phone. I think I jumped on your podcast, and it was like we were one of the first states to be open. And you said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm throwing all of my money into marketing because other clubs are like fearful. No one's marketing. There's a segment of the population that wants to get out. Like now's the time, right?
Right.
Everyone's been displaced. Like go grab them, right?" And you're like, "This is awesome." I mean, that's the way you think as well. So I remember us having that conversation, but it really wasn't until mid 2021 for all of us that we're like, "Oh, the veil's lifted." Turns out people do still want an in-club experience, person to person. We haven't evolved that much, right? And you saw then things like Peloton or whatever fall off just because, like, hey, they were in the right place at the right time, but it was temporary.
Yeah,
right.
100%. You know, it's funny. Yesterday, but I don't know how it'll fall in relation to like when the shows come out. But yesterday, I actually was in Charlotte, interviewed Roger from Rockbox, and said the same thing. He's another guy, very smart, and he goes, "Oh yeah, when things got stressful and when things got tight like that, we just spent a lot more in marketing. We went all in. Everyone else was like contracting. Everyone else was wanting to save their money, and we were like, no, we got to go make our money."
That's right. So, I mean, as you know, any type of situation like that, there's a couple ways to view it. We always would view it as there's got to be an opportunity in this thing somewhere, as big a mess as it is. But we had kind of turned down our franchise sales and really pivoted towards servicing like our licensees, just doing everything kind of like what you guys did. You built all these tools and whatnot just to take care of the folks that are under your umbrella, try to help them survive.
Right.
That's what we spent most of our time doing. And then probably mid 2021, we lifted the veil and got back on it. So it's been fast and furious lately for sure.
And you talked earlier about your brand promises remain the same. So everyone watching, listening, a brand promise, it's a marketing tool, but not only external, it's a good internal marketing tool because you're basically telling everyone in-house as well, if it doesn't align with this promise, why are we doing it?
Exactly.
Right? Like for what was it? Domino's was like 30 minutes or your money
30 minutes or less.
For free or something like that. And loudrumor, it's more members, more money, more minutes, right? Like
love it.
An idea comes to the table. That's cool. Looks great. Does it help us get our members, more money, more minutes?
That's it.
Well, not really. With a wire, yeah.
Right.
It's a great idea for someone else. What was your brand promise?
It's always been the same. It sounds a little bit higher level than maybe exactly what we do, but it's looking good because everybody wants to look good. And again, this is to our consumer, right? Feeling great because I think when you look at the population that we service with personal training, the price threshold pushes us into like a 40 and up market. I think our average start age is in the 50s for all of our brands, right? So it's like, who's servicing that market? Not many people. By the way, that's 70% of the nation's disposable income. Yeah. Probably not a bad crowd to go after, right?
And there's really good data on retention. This data is about 3 years old. So forgive me if I'm a little off, but I'm pretty sure I remember the data. It was like 21 to 24. There was an average 3-month retention, with the 5 studios that were tracking this. And then for 25 to 34, it was 7 months. 35 to 44 was 11 months. 45 and up, it was 14 months. Right. That's average. Now, your retention is much better, but keep in mind, yours is 36 months. But keep in mind, you're combining, that was the average of many.
Right.
Who knows who was running all those? But still, one variable that was measured was not necessarily how good they were, because they were all measured in the same thing here. It was
an indictment of the age bracket.
And the age bracket, regardless of how they were running their business, the older the demographic, the better the retention rate.
Yes.
And think about it. I don't know about your folks and how they were, but my dad, he goes to the same few restaurants.
Yep.
He's not experiencing new stuff. But when I was 18, 19, 21, 22, I wanted to go to the new stuff. Where else could we go?
Yep.
And that's why bars have to have so much turnover.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. We have a franchisee here in Atlanta that's 23 years old.
Okay.
And she is, she's just this beautiful girl, really smart, really well put together. But it's an interesting franchise partner for us, right? Because most of the people that can afford to invest in a franchise, it's the same type of people that can afford to buy personal training. So they look at the opportunity, and the reason it clicks for them is they're like, if this was in my market, I would buy it. So they can easily start to see like why their friends and family and peers would also invest in it because it's something they would like, right? Mm-hmm. So I was sitting down with her and I said, just out of curiosity, why are you interested in an alloy? We're not the business for your customer avatar. And she said in the most succinct way, I loved it. She's like, look, I'm the customer I don't want. I just bounce around from one thing to the other, try all kinds of different things, I would hate to have me as a customer. My mom, on the other hand, and her mom's like my age, and my mom, on the other hand, hired a personal trainer 5 years ago. She goes 3 days a week, and she said she'll never quit. That's a business model I want to own. I'm like, what a brilliant thing from a 23-year-old, right? And I'm like, all right, you can have a franchise, right? Yeah. I thought that was probably the best answer we've had. So to your point, in these sort of age brackets, it's like the retention gets better the further along you move. And I think it's also a byproduct of the that market's underserved in the fitness space. If you look at most class-based concepts, they're chasing 30-ish, maybe 25 to 35, female leaning, already relatively fit. And that's great, unless there's 10 other people in the market doing it, because then you can hop from one founder's rate to the other, right? Right. And you're always going to get a similar workout. It's usually on time, it's cardio-based, that kind of thing. So it's like, all right, well, where's the option for the lady or the man who's 55, who's had a knee replacement, who is still an A player in their market? And our main archetype is mover shaker. So it'd be like, hopefully what I'm going to turn into, or you are, right. It's like at some point where you're an entrepreneur, you're very successful, but you've lived long enough to have a few chinks in your armor. Like you had a bold knee injury from a ski accident or something, had to get your knee replaced. It's like, that just self-selects you out of all these other options. Right. And so you're kind of like, well, where do I go? And then you find us, and it's like, all right, well, I'm here, and there's nothing else in the market for me, right? So they stick around forever. And I didn't finish your brand promise, so it's very simple: looking good, feeling great, right? And then living life to the fullest. Because when you read the success stories, we have a whole wall of them over here, and every franchise that's a feature in their facility, and they get to start with 30 years of alloy history, just boom, and then they slowly replace those success stories with their own as they come in. But when you read those, they always start with a fitness goal. It's why people come in. But they end up staying for like the acceptance and the community and the fact that there's a place that can service them, and there's really nothing else in market that can do it, right? And what that means, living life to the fullest, is like, you'll read the success stories. It's almost like a side note. Yes, I lost 20 pounds, but, and then there's 2 paragraphs of things that have happened in their life,
alongside or because of.
Exactly. Like, I went to the Alps and was able to go hiking every single day with my family, which I've never been able to do. I'd always be too tired and have to take day 2 off. Or, I finally got my knee feeling better, so I was able to go and start playing pickup basketball again on the weekends, which I never could have done before. So it becomes more about that stuff, the living life to the fullest, than it does that's why look good is first, and it's least probably important. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what? It makes so much sense, because yesterday I was talking to Amanda about this. I was telling her for about a decade, I was in the industry, and about half of that time I was a personal trainer, right?
Oh, I think I remember this now. Were you at Gold's Gym?
I was at Gold's Gym as well. I was at Lifetime, or LA Fitness. Okay. I was at Pure Fitness. I was at Fitness One. I've moved around a lot. Like many gym guys. Many gym guys. But I remember I got a lot of satisfaction being a trainer. What I was telling her, we were talking about habits. And I said, I saw people's lives change, but not just in the one direction way, the directed way where everyone can see it, where it's like, oh, now I can go for a run with my kids, or now I can go ride a bike. No, it's more than that. Now I stopped smoking. Now I started eating better. Now I started doing better at work. Now I have a better relationship with my husband, because habits attract habits, like habits.
Yes.
Right? If you go out at night and you start partying, you're more likely to pick up waking up late. You're more likely to pick up smoking. You're more likely to pick up fast food. You're more likely to do all that stuff. But if you start working out, you're more likely to start picking up cooking at home. You're more likely to start picking up waking up a little earlier.
Right.
So good habits attract good habits. Bad habits attract bad habits. I don't know if there's many habits that are better than really taking care of your health and your body.
Yeah, and you're right. And the psychology is, the science of habit change is exactly what you just said, Mike. It's like, do something, stack some evidence that you're that person. I am the type of person that regularly meets my workout schedule. Right. Great. What does that person do for lunch? Oh, well, that person would probably eat this, not that, right? Okay, great. Well, okay, so it's nighttime, do I want to stay up till 1 o'clock? Or does the person that stacking, right, exercises regularly, doesn't miss, now makes pretty good choices for nutrition most of the time, that person probably goes to bed early to get a good night's sleep, right? And it's just one habit stacks on top of the other.
Compound effect.
The compound effect. And it always starts with just the one thing, right? So if you look at what we do, personal training, what do you think of? Accountability, specificity, right? So we can work around whatever you have going on, or give you something exactly what you need when you're in here, even though you're in a small group setting. But we're also holding you accountable. So if we can just get you over the hump, right, so that you can become that person that can say, I'm the one that works out at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. To your point, without a whole lot of effort, there's a cascading effect behind that will happen. And you get down the road 2 or 3 years and you're a completely different person. Your mental acuity is better. Your habits are better. The things you choose to do in your leisure time are different. And I think it's sneaky, right? The way it works. And it doesn't happen all at once. As you know, it's like one habit stacked onto the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of the things that I really like too is that you continue these habits for so long. You said your average client stays for about 36 months.
Right.
Which means your attrition is probably less than 3% on average, right? It's
our client of the month in our corporate facility, which is just around the corner from our corporate facility, our customer-facing corporate facility, she's been there 28 years. She was client of the month last month. 28 years. It's so crazy.
Now, question I've got is, you've got a great attrition. You've got a high dollar per member, right? Your average member pays about how much per month?
Right now, claimed in our FTD is about 300. That will more than likely change for the positive coming out next year.
Is that dollar per member based on just membership alone? Because I know you got ancillary sales as well.
That's just membership alone.
So what would you say is a dollar per member per month?
Yeah, with the low number that we have, it's, like we've got a supplement sale play and a couple of other ways, a couple of levers to pull, right? It's not going to leverage up more than that. So, maybe if it's another $10 a month or something like that on average, that would be
times many clients.
Well, exactly, right?
And also they help with retention. So when you got people paying $310 a month and you got them staying for 36 months, that is hard for some gyms to understand, right? Because they think the more I charge, they may quit sooner, right? But if I charge little, they don't even notice it on their
opposite of that, Mike. You know this, right?
I know it. So what I want to know is why do you think you charging $300 a month on average is contributing to a potentially better attrition, but also what are some things that you think you do alongside of that in order to improve the attrition? So not just the money, but there's things that are being done in the business and also the number of members you have, like all the different things that you think contribute to that.
Yeah. Okay. Brace yourself. This will be a long answer.
Let's go.
Let's start with the tail end of the question first. Like, why do we have such good retention? I think to your point, the simplest answer is the business model. It's less than 150 people. You've probably heard of, I think it's Robin Dunbar, the UK scientist who studies populations, and what's the number of people that you can cognitively maintain a really high level relationship with outside of very close friends and family. And the number is 150. So it's sometimes called Dunbar's number. Sometimes it's called the rule of 150. Look, it may be a loose number, but the fact is you're going to be able to have better intimate relationships with people. That means I know you, I know your kids' names, I know your likes, dislikes, I know your habits, you know me, my kids' names, same thing with the coaches. Right. I don't care what you say, the business model alone has a lot to do with it. Now you take that as a next step. In one of the presentations I did for you one year, I showed a small clip from Clay Christensen, who is a Harvard business professor, and he has this concept called job to be done. And it's basically, what's the real job of your product? We've talked about this before. People come for the fitness goal, they stay for the community. So if they stay for community, then by default, we know that our competitors aren't just direct competitors, because people could also go and have community around a cup of coffee. So Starbucks do well to create a good customer experience, right? Church, you could go to church and be in a Sunday school. You could go play golf with your buddies. You could do a book club with your girlfriends, whatever. All of those things have components of what we're trying to build here. Now, I think if you said, hey, look, you can go have a wine night with your girlfriend, that's easier, but it's probably not as a productive use of your time as exercise. But my point is that we can borrow ideas from all of those jobs to be done concepts and understand that our competitors aren't necessarily just direct competitors, right?
Right.
So then can you systemize the soft touch things that will make you Starbucks-like, as an example? And the answer is yes. So we have a bunch of little things. I'll give you a couple examples. One would be like the 7 core tenets of a great session. And then baked into that are all these psychological things that we know, like addressing people by name within 10 seconds of entering the front door.
By the way, a lot of people know that. How many do you think actually do it enforce it?
These are measurable things, right? These are leading KPIs, or key performance indicators. So leading behaviors that are going to lead to the investors' numbers that they want to see, which is 3% retention and higher revenue.
Right.
And those two things those are one and the same, right?
Right.
So, okay, great. Are you doing these 7 core tenets? And all of them are, okay, everybody gets touched during a session, appropriately, of course. Why? Because we know from studies with physicians that if you just touch a patient on the shoulder while you're visiting with them, the perceived time spent with them goes up by 20%.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. So you're being trained now in a small group format. If I touch you on the arm, even if you don't know it, the perception is you got more personal attention during the session. It's personal training. It's on the front door. So why not bake these things in? These are things that are measurable, Mike. We secret shop our coaches with these things. Are these things happening? So you take all that, and then other little things that become hard systems. Like we borrowed this straight out of, the Ritz-Carlton. We call it surprisingly personable, right? I've probably heard it, right?
Well, I've heard you talk a lot about Ritz-Carlton, and I know you studied customer service.
Well, I went to the Ritz-Carlton experience. Like they have a little school, right, that they have. And it turns out like we have to do so much in fitness because people just inherently don't love working out. You have to do so much for it. We ended up like top of the class because everyone else that was in there was from like big industry. And it's like, listen, you got to have a cell phone. You have to have cell phone coverage. So it's sort of like, yes, you can put more juice into it, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to buy it anyway.
Right.
But for us, it's like, boy, we're really fighting tooth and nail to get these folks to do something that they need, but maybe don't want, which is fitness. So we ended up being pretty good at it. But out of that, we borrowed, I guess, this idea of surprisingly personable. So imagine you have a group, like a healthy business model for now, like 130 members, right? Dead simple. So we take a budget, $200 a month, and we will buy gifts, random gifts for our customers. And it's called surprisingly personable. I'll give you an example. So in one of our facilities, there was a lady who had moved from Chicago, and it was still COVID-ish. And I think her dad got COVID, and she couldn't go visit him, and nobody could see him in the hospital. And that really bothered her, and she was very homesick, and she's a huge sports fan. So it didn't take any time at all. We log on to Amazon, buy her a Chicago Bears sweatshirt, present it to her in the gym. It's like, hey, we know you've been having a tough time with your family. I just wanted to say thanks. We appreciate that you're here, and we're thinking about you. Tears, right? And it's if you're looking for those opportunities all the time, Mike, like in your meetings, you're saying, who can we love on with this $200 every month? It keeps everyone on the staff thinking about the little extra things that can be done, listening to those conversations, right? Where are pain points? What are little things we could do that would be special for people? So it's more than just the $200 spent. It's like a cultural shift, right? Where we're all trying to make these people happy and do those little extras, right? Again, personal training's on the front door. So those are just a few examples of like, okay, set a budget, go love on people. And we only have 130. So you might say, well, for $200, you're only getting to 4 or 5 people a month. I'm like, yeah, but like other clients see it. Right. They like it, right?
And it's not just the $200 thing that drives that. The $200 really, what it would do for me as an employee is it drives the message. The message to me is we care so much about making sure that people really enjoy their time with us, that they feel like they're a part of something here. They feel like we're a part of them, their community, that we've created a budget for it in case someone really needs us to give that extra love. What that tells me is that's how important it is. They've created something for this. Therefore, everything I do, every interaction that I have, the way that someone comes in the door, the way I got to see them, talk to them is different because we're the type of company that literally creates a budget to do something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
when you just say it, it's different.
You said you were a coach, right? Imagine when you were a coach, your gym said, hey, Mike, you've got a budget of whatever to like, we're going to buy things for the people that you work with. And you get to be the one that delivers all this happiness to this individual, right? It's like, I would have been all over that. Like, what's my budget? I would spend it in an hour. Yeah. Then now I'm looking for opportunities, again, to love on customers, right?
Right.
And to drive that engagement higher. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's a million little things that we have baked into our systems around the customer care. I don't think you can do it if you're in a model that needs 600-700 members to be successful. It's just too much chaos, right? Then by default, from what we've experienced, because we work with plenty of brands that do that, it becomes somewhat transactional, the relationship, because it's like, do I have a founder's rate? Do I get this? Do I get a discount? Can I buy that? Whereas with us, it's all relationship based. So the price sort of goes away. And look, that avatar, that customer avatar that we're going after, that affects real estate choices. So if you put it in the right area and there's a population density of people in this age bracket that have money, you don't have to worry about whether or not they can afford it. And to your point, that head trash around like, well, who would spend that? It's like a bunch of people would spend it, especially it's people that don't even have a choice in that market currently.
Right.
And you set up shop, and I tell you, it's like, those proud founder moments when you hear a member speaking back to you exactly what you hope your brand is doing in a market, right? Like you say, what do you love about Alloy? And they're like, oh, I love it because like I couldn't find any other place to work out because I had a double knee replacement. And everybody here makes me feel so, so comfortable and inclusive. And I was really,
they're literally saying the vision.
They're speaking it back to me better than I could articulate it to a candidate. And I'm like, what'd she say?
Can you say that again?
What he said, right? Yeah, I was just out at visiting a club out in Montana, of all places, and just hearing the members talk about what it meant to them, it was better than I could ever articulate it.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel good knowing that what you hope you're putting into market, you're getting back. But back to your original point, that doesn't happen by accident. You can systemize all that soft touch stuff, right? And you got to, I mean, to your point, we talk about scale a lot, and it's got to be dead simple, because if all the stuff and the technology and everything is so complicated to run the business, and there's so much sales activity because of this high churn, you can't put any energy into the good stuff, right? What I think drives retention, you can't even put it there because they're so worried about 50 net new members because you've got 40 going out the back door. And that's okay. I mean, those business models do work sometimes. It's just not the business that I would want to be in, right? As like 100%. A fitness person, if that makes sense.
All right, I want to go to something that I think is really, really great about the model, and it combines your high price point, it combines your low attrition, which is your lifetime value.
Yes.
Which is made up of those two things, right? How much you're able to collect from a person, and for how long can you collect it, and you combine those two together, and you get the value of that client. What's your lifetime value right now for one client? By the way, it's normal for somebody in the gym space to have like a $1,500 lifetime value.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's normal.
Wow.
It's normal, meaning like it wouldn't be weird to see it.
Right. So, well, let's lay the landscape. So it's class-based. Let's just take boutique fitness as its own category. There's class-based concepts, and then there's personal training on the other end of the spectrum as far as expense, right? So we are at an average spend of about $300 a month, average stay of 36 months. So if you do the math on that, you're at 10, 8, maybe 11 grand roughly, right? If you take, and I sat on the board for Fitness Business Association, which aggregates a lot of data from, studios only. And according to their data, the average stay in a class-based concept is 5 months, and the average spend's $130 a month, which is like $650, just under $650, right? So as you know, Mike, you're a marketing genius. It's like the acquisition cost of these two customers is the same. And it's a rhetorical question, but do you want the customer that's worth $650, or do you want the customer that's worth $11,000? Right. It's like, yeah, of course. So what I love about it is a lot of the questions we get from potential franchisees, investors are like, hey, I'm going to have to hire an operator to run this business. Are you having a hard time doing that? I'm like, no. Imagine when you were that personal trainer and you had stacked some sales skills, and somebody came to you and said, listen, this is a position I have offered to you. And the best thing about it is you actually get to be in the fitness business, because you understand the only ascension typically, if you're a personal trainer, is to become a personal training manager, which is really just sales only, right? But imagine you go into a facility, there is a period of time in a pre-sale, we got to work your butt off and sell it. And hell, we've even hired a hit team of salespeople here where we'll just take the bandwidth for you if you want, right? We'll sell your gym over the phone. Great. Then once you're up and running, you get service revenue. So if imagine the opportunity, like, hey, you're this fitness director at, say, a Lifetime Fitness, and you're doing okay, but you can come here, you have the opportunity to even make more. Once this thing is sold, right? Once you're at capacity, there's very little sales going on. Most of the sales is based on referrals, which is based on doing a good job in what you love to do. And you get to do fitness. Right. Otherwise, you could be working at a car dealership. And sales is great. And if you love sales, you could probably make a living doing anything you want, as you know. But I would say that if you love fitness, it's a really good brand to get involved with, because you get to do fitness. You get to be on the floor 15, 20 hours a week, seeing clients. You manage a couple of part-timers. It's like, and you put your arms around 130 people or so. Yeah. And those become your flock, right? If you take care of the flock and you employ a couple of part-timers to help you, it's like, it's not that complicated.
When you have a lifetime value of 10 to 11 grand, how does that change things for you and your decisions in regard to marketing, hiring people? What does that change for you, as opposed to the guy that's got a $600, $700 lifetime value?
Well, I think it goes back to, we can put more juice into being more relational with our customers, right? And less transactional. Because when you're doing mostly transactional based relationships, is because you have a lot of people in and out, right? It becomes about the next hook and the next deal. And those things are important, don't get me wrong. But in our model, we don't really have to have any of that, right? It just simplifies everything. It's like, all right, this is what we do. It's an underserved market, so we don't have a problem explaining what we do to our market. It's well received. They understand it because it's simple. By the way, it's hard to do, but once you do it, the consumer gets it too, right? So it's like, awesome. They get it. And yeah, it just ends up being like a really good underserved customer avatar that works really well. Right. If you go into the right market, which we do all the real estate work and stuff for everybody anyway. So,
and the marketing, a lot less stressful around spending money on marketing.
Yeah, and I mean, the marketing can be, again, I keep going back to this word simple, but I know you and I talk about scale a lot, and like scale alone makes things complex. So it has to be dead simple to start to get, if we want to get to 800 locations in the continental U.S., right, it's going to have to be really simple. Not easy, kind of like fat loss. Like everybody knows what you need to do. It doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah,
right? Still got
simple.
Still got to pedal the bike, right? We'll build you a good bike. Still got to pedal it, but it is very simple. And I think the consumer recognizes that, and so does the the franchise partner, if you will. But to your point, the marketing even is simple, right? It's like, okay, 130 spots available. There's no founder's rate. There's only 130 spots available.
Yeah.
So imagine a sales call, and I know this is in your wheelhouse, and I'll probably pick your brain after this to get any more nuggets, as I always do. But imagine getting on the phone and you have 130 spots available. I talk to you, and you're like, "Hey, I've had a rotator cuff surgery, and I got this funky knee from playing basketball. But I'm gotten out of shape because I haven't found a place to work out. Everywhere I try to go, I get hurt." I'm like, "Hey, we're your place," and then I explain to you what we can do for you. All I have to do is convince you that we're the solution to your problem. I only have 130 spots. Legitimately, I'm not creating some. We're looking for 10 women in our area,
and that's if that phone call, it's at the point where you have no clients. If you have 70 clients, you're like, okay, we got 60 spots left.
Yeah, and we just count it down, right?
Yeah.
But you tell that person, listen, I have 130 spots on my team. I think we'd be a perfect fit for you. I would love to have you on the team, but to do that, here's what I'm going to need from you, right? I'm 3 days a week to choice. I'm going to send you the agreement. We have the ability to do that. Great. Get your credit card, just like making a hotel reservation. No big deal, but I can't hold your spot unless you make a reservation. I think we're a perfect fit. I'd love to help you, but this is the only way I'm going to be able to. Got to be on the bus, right? And it's simple, but again, that's simplify the marketing message, the sales process, which is tied to the marketing message, all the way through to the customer experience.
You have anybody doing 4 days a week?
We don't,
because full body.
Yeah,
that's a lot, and in their older demographic. Well, even if they were younger demographic, a full body 4 days a week is.
Well, here's what's interesting. Like, I know we don't ever talk about like fitness because I'm always like the business guy, but I do like fitness, and I do full body, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 230 with less than I have single digit body fat. It's like I do the exact same things that our customers do. There's no difference. I'm not doing like body part splits and everything else. It's like eat more protein, do full body, and there's plenty of studies that will support taking the same weekly volume as the old bodybuilder breakdown where you did 10 sets of chest on Monday, just using that as a basic example.
Yeah.
If you split that up into 4 sets spread out over 3 days, you get better results. So even for the benefits that like bros are looking for, right?
Yeah.
Or whoever, you can still see some benefit from full body training.
As long as you hit the same volume, regardless of the split.
Exactly.
You're pretty good.
Yeah. And so small doses spread out is actually better than bombarding a muscle group 1 day a week. And that's stuff coming from like, Dr. Andy Galpin and like the tip of the spear, right?
Yeah.
Studies, which is good because by default, we've already been doing it. Of course, I love when anybody really smart backs it up with real science. We've done it anecdotally, but to your point, most people are coming 3 days a week. We've got a great app, so we're prescribing things outside the gym. As you know, a personal trainer is trying to manage more than just the time they spend with the trainer. And I think our brand promise needs to be more than just great workouts because like you and I can just step over here and do 50 burpees and like we could maybe say that was a good workout. It was hard and we were sweating, right?
Yeah.
But what does it really mean in the big picture? And like, what do I need to do on my off days? Like I've got this thing that bothers me or I don't move enough. So it's like we can give like our app, it pulls in all wearables. We can give step goals. I can give you 3 stretches I want you to do, all video driven. Stand up from your desk 3 times a day because you're here all day long. There's a lot of things that we can use our technology for to get people engaged, not just when they're in our gym. So it's a sort of omni-channel approach to what we do. Yeah. And I think that to me makes it more personal training than just come in for kick-ass workouts.
Yeah, absolutely. For this next question, I want to make sure you're not answering the question that I'm not meaning to ask. What I'm not wanting to know is when I say like, hey, what makes a really good franchisee or a business owner in the space? What I'm not asking about is like, yeah, of course, they got to follow the brand. They got to live to the values of their mission. What I'm asking for is what decision they've made in their head as far as what their job is now.
Right.
And what they've got to do in order to be successful now as a business owner. What does that mean to you?
In a word, leadership. Because again, there's 2 main factors, right? When we do these sort of validation calls, we do something in our sales process called the CEO call. And it's a screening call to get people to then discovery day, which is our last introduction, break bread together, really get to know each other, right? They don't get to that if I'm not satisfied on this CEO call. And I mean, that's a double vetting process. We're not just selling it, we're awarding it, right? They're not just buying it, they're joining a team. That's a partnership, fractionalized. So I will always ask people questions that will, reveal whether or not I think they can attract good people, because there's 2 things that can screw it up. One, you put it in the wrong spot. You can take that off the table. We're not going to allow it, right? We've got all these metrics, 7-layer archetype built out. We're not going to let you put it in the wrong spot. Second, it's the people that run it. Now, we're going to give you a talent acquisition vendor. We've written the scripts for taking this to market. We already mentioned it's a very compelling offer. We have a PEO, which is an overreaching benefits program, like large company benefits. Each location is underwritten fractionally, but you can take to market a full benefits package with a really relevant salary. That's in place. We have a screening test that we built, Mike. So it's like in the interview process, send them this test. They take it online. We overlay the position that they're applying for, and it will eliminate the people that are literally just not hardwired to do it. You might love them, right? But you still have to choose and lead the right people. To me, that's critical. So we often use this statement that I heard on a podcast once, and it goes, are you the person that you're looking for is looking for? And so when I'm interviewing a potential franchise partner, franchisee, I'm looking at them through the lens of, can this person attract and lead good talent? And I know what that talent needs to look like. The customer facing, energetic person that just loves to help people as their main passion in life. Can this person attract that person?
Yeah.
Right? And if not, it's going to be a tough road to hoe.
Yeah.
And if you are, I mean, the guy I just visited in Montana, he lives 3 hours from his location. Is that usual? No. Is that risky? Yes. But you know what he has? An amazing operator. And if I could just take that guy and clone him, shout out to Paul, his passion is just helping people.
Right.
That's it. And then this guy's 25 years old. He's servicing clients average age of mid-50s, right?
Right.
His whole staff is under 25 years old. They are the nicest people you've ever met.
I bet.
But that's it. The owner, and you know what the owner said? And this is probably, again, what I would be looking for in those CEO calls. This guy's, director's Paul. Paul serves the clients. I serve Paul. Says everything you need to know. I'm like, can you just, in that one statement, that's what I'm looking for in a franchise candidate. And to me, that makes a great candidate, because your ability to attract and lead your talent, that's going to make or break your business.
Absolutely. Have you ever heard of Michael Burnoff?
Yes.
He spoke at our last conference. He's a master.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's good. Good for you.
He's a master at NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And when you just talked about, like, are you the person you're looking for is looking for? He talked a little bit about that. And I got to send you the recording of his talk. We're not making it public because, it's for our community.
Sure.
We're going to maybe have a snippet or two online, but the whole talk is going to be for our community. But I'll send you the talk. And he really dove into that and how to build out, like, even your job ads in a specific way to attract the right people. And that may sound so simple just saying it, but when I watched him say it on stage and how he said it, I'm like, I don't know what company he was talking about, but I want to work there.
Right.
It was that good.
Yep.
But the driving force of everything he was saying was around, am I the person that I'm looking for is looking for?
Yes.
Is this where they're like going, I need to be here, I need to work here? And I felt that from the stage on a fake company.
Right.
That he was using as an example. They're pretty interesting.
Well, and you said I would want to work for that company, right?
Right.
So we can put core values in place. Check. What's our mission? Check. Right. Culture. Check. Everything. Right. But does the person that's going to partner with us, are they going to be able to take all of that with all the tools that they would possibly need, other than us hiring them for them, which, as you know, we can't do, and take it into market and attract the right person?
Yeah.
If they can, they're going to be a great franchisee. If they cannot, it's going to be a tough road to hoe.
What's this year look like for Alloy? We're now coming up on the end of February, last week of February. What do we want to aim for here by end of year?
Yeah, so our goal, and this is conservative, it's funny, we have an FSO that we work with, which is a franchise sales organization. They have some very lofty goals, and I'm glad they do, because that's their job. We're budgeting for another 65 clubs sold this year, which would put us at 150, over 150.
Okay.
We'll have 50 open by this year's end. So we're well on our way to that 65. It looks like at our current pace, we would surpass that easily. But I think that's a good pace. There's a healthy friction, as you know, Mike, between sales and operations. So for us, I mean, you can sell a franchise to any person that can afford it, right?
Right.
But then you have to get them open and get them successful on the back end. And there's a healthy friction between ops and sales, as there should be. And so I think, partnering with an FSO that gives us the bandwidth to go and work the broker networks and bring us these leads and close these sales, it really allows us to do what we've been doing well for the last 15 years, which is trying to help clubs be operationally successful, right?
Yeah.
And so I think at that pace, to your main question, that I think we can do that at that pace.
That healthy like balance is so important too. A lot of franchises, from what I've noticed, just talking to so many franchisors, what they don't really anticipate early on is when you sell a ton of franchises to anyone that can afford it early on, what you find later is the phone doesn't stop ringing from franchisees that it's not working. Why isn't this happening? I don't know how I'm going to pay my landlord. I'm not making payroll. And the phone just rings and rings and rings, because you've got to have that healthy balance of like sales and operations. Look, we're going to sell, but we need to make sure that these guys are prepared for battle.
Right. Can we keep up with sales? Like,
Right.
how many franchise business coaches do you need as a ratio to franchisees
Right.
to really deliver?
And
Right?
creating the plays for them to be successful.
Big time.
Adjusting with the market, whatever we might need to be, obviously.
Exactly.
You kind of came into the COVID wave, but if you started 2 years later, that'd be something you'd have to almost remodel something for a year
Yes.
in order to get to
Yeah, exactly.
which you know, right?
Yeah.
So, well, Rick, I'm super excited to be here. I mean, it's first off, I've never been in Atlanta, so this is really cool. And I can't think of another reason to be in Atlanta than to come see you. I think Alloy's a fantastic brand. It's why I'm looking to do more and more stuff with it personally too, which is great. And Matt Kafora, he's in there with me. We're looking to do more stuff with you, and I think Alloy's on its way. It's such a great model, low cost to get in, high ticket, 130 members, 2-3 employees.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
One full-timer, 2 part-timers.
One full-timer, 2 part-timers.
Doesn't get any simpler than that.
1,800 square feet or so.
Yep. 15 to 2,000. Yep.
15 to 2,000. I just really like you kept it simple. And it's amazing.
Hard to do.
It's amazing how simple works when it's done right. Thank you, Rick.
Mike, it's an honor as always. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Same here. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.